Imagine 70% of our Earth is underwater, yet we know nothing about it. Hello and welcome to Tomorrow's World. I'm your host Ena Sarkar. Today we will explore underwater. Just follow me.
Nearly 3/4 of the Earth is covered in water, and there's a whole wide world hiding under it. Some parts have been explored, and most of it's unknown and hostile to humans. But how does one quench the thirst of an adventure lover who wants to capture the underwater world without having to spend much time diving around? OpenRov brings to you a drone that will help you to explore marine mysteries without letting you get soaked.
Eric, welcome to Tomorrow's World. I'm super excited.
Thank you, me too.
You are the one who had the idea. Now tell me about this. You had this thought in your brain that I want to make this product. How did you start rolling it?
Well, I was always really interested in exploration of the unknown, and particularly with telerobotics. That's the notion of using technology to explore or be in a place that you couldn't go yourself. And it started out with an interest in space exploration. And I was working at NASA Ames Research Center. I was going to grad school, doing mostly spacecraft stuff, but it was frustrating that you needed a rocket to get there, you know, and these missions would take many years to develop. And it occurred to me that the ocean is this dark, mysterious world that has creatures we've never seen before, and all you need is a shoreline to get there. So why not build an underwater drone that could allow me to explore without needing a rocket ship? And that's kind of the beginning.
So talk about the product itself. What is this made of? How did you even come up with the design? What are the different parts of this product? Tell me everything about it.
Sure.
It's kind of light. I would have imagined it to be much heavier than this.
Interesting.
It's lighter than a camera.
That's good. Well, I mean, we do want it to be something that people can take with them. You know, there have been underwater drones before, but they usually cost tens of thousands of dollars. Mm-hmm. And we wanted one that was not only much more affordable, but also that could be taken in a backpack on a hike, and you could bring it to, an alpine lake or something like that.
It looks like a backpack itself. So.
It kind of does.
Yeah, so what do these do?
Oh yeah, so on the bottom you can see here, these are threaded inserts, and they're 50 millimeters apart. And they're designed to accept payloads, so you could attach a robot arm or some sort of water sensor to the bottom. And that way, Trident itself is sort of just a platform to bring these scientific and other types of payloads to the deep where humans could never go. Mm-hmm. On the front here, you can see there's a camera window. Mm-hmm. This is actually a sapphire, so it will never scratch even if you run into rocks. And then on either side of the camera are these lights, which are quite bright, and they allow you to see. When you're at that sort of depth, hardly any sunlight makes it to the bottom. So in order to be able to see what you're doing, you actually may need lights. It also is helpful if you're flying at night or if you're going into a shipwreck or something like that. In the back there are these thrusters. These allow the vehicle to move forward and backward, and by going in different directions, they can allow it to rotate. And then on the top is a vertical thruster, and that makes the ROV go up and down, or it can cause it to sort of pitch. So when you're flying, it's almost like how you'd go through the water in a dream. You can move forward and then dive over a cliffside and follow fish around and things like that. It's really a lot of fun to drive.
Now, what is the range of this? How far and how much can it see?
Trident has been designed to get to most of the places that people would be able to explore, from shore or from a coastal boat. It can go to a depth of 100 meters. That's as deep as a football field is long. And at that depth, you're seeing things that perhaps no one has seen before. It's dark and mysterious. And our tether can talk over 100 meters as well. And in fact, with some modifications, you could even go over a distance of 300 meters. So that really gives you quite a bit of range. And then finally, we're working on ways where you can connect the robot to the internet. And someone flying in a different part of the world with their robot could allow a controller to be on another part of the planet and drive it around that way. So really worldwide access, and that's something I think you couldn't do with a vehicle that flies over people's heads.
Do you control all of that with that controller?
Oh yeah, you can. This is actually just an Android device, and this is one that will probably sell along with the robot, but actually any mobile phone or tablet that you have can be used. The vehicle talks up to the tether to a sort of Wi-Fi module, and any device that can download the OpenRov app can log in through Wi-Fi, and that's how you control the robot. So it's very easy to control with anything that people have with them already.
So you download the app and then you can get connected to a live device?
Yeah, that's right. To start out, you'll download the app in order to control your own ROV. But in the future, we hope people can download the app and log into ROVs through the internet that are other parts of the world.
What is the future of that app? Are you going to make a community where people will log in and watch you live?
Oh yeah, of course. Well, community is an extremely important part of what we're doing. And the app's basic function is to allow you to control the robot, but we hope that it'll also allow people to engage with each other. When someone's gone on an expedition, you could follow along with it. You can watch what someone's doing. Maybe you could even control a robot in some other part of the world. And we've also created a lot of other ways for people to get involved with expeditions that people are doing. For instance, we launched a website called Open Explorer, which allows you to log on and see these expeditions happening around the world, follow along as people plan for the expedition and find out whatever they're trying to discover.
Well, Open ROV, explain the name to me.
Well, the ROV part stands for Remotely Operated Vehicle, and that's traditionally what these sort of underwater drone devices are called. And the open part is because a lot of the things we do are open source. For instance, the kits that we've been selling for almost 5 years now are completely open source. We publish the electronics schematics, all the details about how to build them, so that anyone who wants to get involved can use what we've already come up with to innovate on their own. And then also Trident has a lot of aspects that we're being very open about. We're helping people understand how they can build payloads that can be attached to the vehicle for their own experiments or projects. We're sharing a lot of the software that is what will enable people to build better control systems for the robot and do things that perhaps we wouldn't have thought of ourselves.
Did you ever think of making it shaped like a fish?
Sort of. Well, actually, it really is sort of shaped like a fish, but sideways. If I can pick it up again, you'll see that the back end of the vehicle is very pointed. Everything comes down to a sharp point, and fish are that way as well. The front of it, though, is not very pointed. And you're used to airplanes and things where they'll have to have these pointed noses and very sharp fronts. In water, where you have a thing called the Reynolds number that's very low, it actually doesn't really matter what the front looks like. It could be blunt or sharp, it doesn't matter. But what makes it really hydrodynamic, what makes it really efficient through the water, is making sure that everything in the back comes to a point. That's where most of your drag comes from. So the design of this is optimized for being very efficient in the water. And if you look at a lot of fish like tuna or any fast-moving fish, you'll notice they're the same design except for in this orientation.
So the fishes tend to think it's a friend.
Yeah, I guess so. And actually, the motors are so quiet that we can swim inside of a school of fish. We spent a lot of time making sure that the vehicle was extremely quiet and docile, so that it doesn't startle creatures.
Been camouflaged with the fishes.
Yeah, and a bunch of us are scuba divers, and we've noticed when we drive this around that we see creatures we don't normally see when we're scuba diving. Because I think the timid fish, don't show themselves when there's a big scuba diver with all sorts of bubbles. But the way that this moves is very gentle, and it allows us to really see nature in a new way.
Headquartered in Berkeley, California, the underwater drone startup, founded by Eric and David in 2012, functions out of an open garage space in an industrial area overlooking the San Francisco Bay. A casual factory-like environment with machines, tools, boxes, wires, expedition gears all over, and a pool of water in the middle to test the drone. OpenRov has a young, vibrant, and dedicated team of 14 who are ready to set sail and take on the underwater world.
Hello, my name is Brian Grau, and I'm the project manager and production manager for Trident.
Hi, I'm Margaret Simsky, and I'm the operations manager.
My name is Charles Cross. I'm one of the software engineers.
Right now, I've been working on doing financial projections looking into the next year. So basically just making sure that we've got what we need in order to accomplish the goals we have as a company. Also working on kind of planning for hiring and just basically, making sure things are running generally smoothly.
I work on the embedded systems and development of the platform for the vehicle. So I work on integrating all the sensors, doing the motor control, the video pipeline, kind of gluing together all the pieces that make the ROV what it is.
Trident has been a long process, a couple years in the making, and through that we've gone through dozens to hundreds of prototypes for different things. The entire system itself has gone through lots of iterations.
One of the primary challenges that we're going to have here is changing fundamentally the way we explore and understand the world, and especially our oceans. Passion is basically a requirement to work here, and there's no shortage of adventures and challenges that are involved in the journey to making Trident successful and our mission of changing the way we explore and understand the world.
Every day is kind of different, I think. Right now we're in the midst of planning, kind of these final stages for Trident development. So a lot of us get in kind of mid-morning, catch up on emails. Many of us here are working on doing testing for the Trident and getting feedback from customers about it.
So I've been with OpenRov for about 4 years now. I've been part of the community for longer than that. I've known Eric Stackpole, one of the co-founders, for about 7 years. He was doing his grad school when I was doing my undergrad, and we were working in a robotics lab together there. And then he started OpenRov, and I actually, as a community member, own the first serial number ROV that is not in the OpenRov office.
Before I came here, I was working at NASA Langley on the East Coast, and I was working in autonomous aerial systems. And what I saw is that the technology that we're working on here and the way OpenRov is integrating different sensors and controls and working in robotics and eventually autonomy, I saw that the work I was doing at NASA had a direct application here, and I had the ability to take my prior experience and knowledge and make an impact by putting it in an actual product that was going to be going out into the world and creating real experiences and providing real feedback and data.
Startup life is, it's fun. We are a team of about a dozen people. We're all friends. We all work well together. There's definitely the long hours, but we also get to go on expeditions and go explore the world around us, and that's really fun to do it with your friends and get paid for it.
We have kind of a mix of community events. Sometimes we'll have open houses where we'll actually invite people in and they can kind of get a tour of the lab and chat with all of the people here that are working on projects. And then we also do expeditions as a team now and again, which are pretty fun. So I think Eric might have mentioned that we went to Lake Tahoe in previous years and actually used the robots to explore this shipwreck that had sunk, I think something like 60 years ago. So we're always keeping an ear out for interesting things that we can use the robot to look at, and so that's one of the things we all kind of share is a love of that kind of adventure.
OpenRov's vision is to unveil the ocean to more people, classrooms, scientists, and advance marine research. With a weight of approximately 3.4 kilograms and a 3 to 4 hour runtime, the Trident drone can move in straight lines, scan large areas, and also maneuver in tight spaces. Attached to a Kevlar-reinforced neutrally buoyant tether, Trident travels at a speed of nearly 2 meters per second and captures 1080p videos at 30 frames per second. The underwater drone can be connected to a VR headset for a more live virtual experience. Ena Sarkar talks to David Lang, who, other than being a co-founder, is also a writer and a National Geographic Fellow.
Tell me more about how you developed this product. So you have this idea, I want to build an underwater drone, right? How did you go about it? What were the challenges? What were some of the initial hiccups?
Well, it's been a long process. We've been doing this for many years. And Eric was really the one who had the initial idea. And it was that cave story that got us started. And we had this early prototype, and all these technologies were just starting to come to the point where we could actually do this. And when we started, we sold these DIY kits. So just the parts, we put them in a box and we told people that you can buy this, but you have to build it yourself. And so for many years, we were just selling these DIY kits to hobbyists, to makers, to teachers and students, people who kind of were handy, tinkering and putting these things together. And at some point, we realized, we've moved the technology needle so far that we could actually make a product. And so that's when we started working on the Trident. This has been in development for many years, and it's just started shipping. So it's a really exciting time here.
Now there are other underwater drones as well, right? How are you staying ahead?
Well, the interesting thing is there have been underwater drones for a long time, right? These things have been around for 20 years, right? There's been big ones used for oil and gas and the military. This technology's been around. What we did was reimagined it in a new way. We imagined it in a way where it shouldn't just be something that the military has or that really well-funded researchers have access to. This is something everybody should be able to do. Everyone should be able to explore. And so ever since we've come out with the Trident and we've kind of pushed the boundaries on those designs, we've seen a lot of people who come out with kind of similar designs or want to kind of copy what we're doing, but we're keeping that big vision in mind, which is how do we make everyone into an explorer? How do we make sure that owning this device makes your life more interesting? And so we have this wonderful community. And if you go on openexplorer.com, you can see all of these different expeditions around the world. So what we're doing is we're really doubling down on the community aspect. So it's not just a device, it's not just a machine. This is an invitation to adventure, to exploration, to do more interesting things with your life and to be a part of the cutting edge of discovery.
Let's talk a little bit about the future and marketing this. How are you making it accessible to everyone around the world?
And that's a good question. I think one of the things we realized is it's one thing to talk about the technology and say, here's the capabilities of the camera, and here's how deep it can dive, and here's what it can do. But it's another thing to tell these stories of adventure. And so we have this site, openexplorer.com, and you can go there and you can see what everyone in our community is doing with these tools. And it's incredible. I mean, from the conservation issues, monitoring marine protected areas, going and studying sharks. Mm-hmm. We had one guy who just got a great white to actually bite his underwater drone. The stories are what are going to bring people in. You think about Jacques Cousteau, as he invented the aqualung. He created modern scuba diving, but it wasn't enough. He had to tell the stories of why people wanted to go and see these environments for themselves. And so we're doing the same thing. We're moving beyond just the technology and really inviting people to be a part of that story.
I can't wait to own one. How much does it cost?
So the base model is $1,600, and if you want to get a longer tether and a hard case, it's a little bit more. But it's the same price as a drone or a laptop. It's something that every boat owner should have.
Well, tell me more about the applications, commercial applications of this, and what else this can discover.
Yeah, so there's a ton of commercial applications, right? So I'll start off with the really industrial ones. So, there's thousands of municipal water tanks all over the world, and these need inspecting. And most of the time, it's a highly technical diver who's coming in and inspecting these water tanks. Well, you can do this with a drone much easier, much faster, much cheaper. So that's one industrial aspect. But any situation where you have to send a diver in to inspect something, it's faster and better and easier to actually send a drone. But then you get on to some of these other markets, like there are lots of people with boats, right, who are going out and spending time on the water. And this is a really fun new toy because it's opening up this whole aspect of the environment that they've just been skimming around the surface. Yeah. So it turns everybody's boat or everybody's dock in their backyard into this research vessel where they can, show their friends. It's like having your own personal submarine.
So what inspires you? What keeps you going? You're into some very complex invention. What moves you?
I moved out to California when I was younger, and my big dream was to sail around the world. And I came out here and I begged my way into a job at a sailing school and learned how to sail and lived on boats and fell in love with the water and the ocean. And it always surprised me that more people weren't doing the same, that more people weren't out there, more people weren't enjoying it and soaking it up. And so this project, working with Eric, developing this tool, is really an extension of that desire, is to build more technology and tools that invite people to get outside and invite people to experience kind of the wonder that's still out there, that's still available to you. It's not, everything isn't packaged and prepared and for sale. There's still adventure to be had. And that's the kind of thing we want to promote.
And like you said, 70% is covered in water and the least known about.
There's still a lot left to explore.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks.
I am super excited and can't wait to own one of these.
Sounds good.
Christmas is coming up.
That's right.
Well, for someone like me who's scared of height and water, this almost seems like a dream invention. I bet you also want to get a hold of it. Just visit their website. We'll see you again next week, same time, same place, for another exciting episode of Tomorrow's World. Until then, take care of yourself.